So hello friends, in today's lecture we'll be continuing with the sensors in different application area. In last lecture we have seen the temperature sensors. In that we have seen the RTD thermistor type of sensors. So today we'll be continuing with the temperature sensors that are related with the next sensors, and the most important sensor is thermocouple. So we are going to see what do you mean by thermocouple, and so thermocouple is one of the important temperature sensor that has been used widely in many industrial applications. So what do you mean by thermocouple? So thermocouple is nothing but two dissimilar metal or conductors having two junctions of these conductors are needed to make this practical sensor. That means two dissimilar metals or conductors having two junctions. So two junctions, one is kept at reference temperature and other is kept at the object of which you want to measure the temperature. So this device is called as a thermocouple type of device. So the thermocouple is a passive sensor because it doesn't require any external excitation. So it generates the voltage in response to the temperature and does not require any external power. So the thermocouple sensor belongs to a class of relative voltage generating sensor because the voltage produced depends upon the temperature difference between the thermocouple junctions. So I have marked it as a temperature difference. So output voltage which is proportional to the temperature difference between the two junctions. So two junctions, we will see the diagram and you will come to know that this is what the thermocouple is. To measure the temperature of the thermocouple, one junction will serve as a reference. Obviously it will be kept as a zero reference. So I'll show you the diagram how the junction is. Now let us consider that this is one metal, okay, and here it is another metal which is kept with a different type of sensor. So that will form a material, then it is again connected to this one and it is kept at a reference. So this is metal A, this is metal B, and you can have a combination of A and B over here. So again A you can put it over here, and to this you can connect a voltmeter and you will be getting, so this is a reference voltage, you can get it over here, and this is the temperature you want to measure, that is object temperature. So if I consider it as a B, then I will connect it to the voltmeter and I will measure the voltage. Okay, so this is the reference temperature. So whatever may be the difference is there, that difference is proportional to this temperature difference. That means TB minus TR we can consider it. So to measure the temperature of the thermocouple, one junction serves as a reference and its absolute temperature must be measured by the absolute sensor or thermistor or RTD. So we can keep it as a RTD over there and that will be measured with that one. So there are certain metal combinations are used for manufacturing or for using the thermocouples. So most of the time the alloys are used. So these alloys are with the combination of this one. So you can see that the first combination is the copper, then constant you can use it. So it contains the alloy which consists of 55% copper and 45% nickel. Then iron is there, then the chromel is there. Chromel is again is one kind of alloy, 90% nickel and 10% chromium. Then alumel is there, 95% nickel and 2% molybdenum is there and 2% aluminum is there. Then nicrosil is there, then nickel is there, platinum is there, rhodium is there. So all the metal and its alloy combinations, they will form the thermocouple. So the recommendations that are generally used for standard thermocouples are like this. So there are the different types of thermocouples are available: T type, J type, K type, E type, R and S and B type of thermocouples are there. So for T type, the copper is used as a positive electrode and constantan is used for a negative. The temperature range is it can be used up to 370 degrees centigrade. So J type of is material is used with iron and constantan. Then E is chromel and constant. So here you can see that one terminal or one metal acts as a positive one and the second alloy acts as a negative one. So you can see that generally such positive and negative types of ions are measured, terminals are used. So that will create a positive terminal and this will create a negative terminal for the voltmeter, and you can easily measure the voltage across this one. And you can see that the temperature range is also changing. For T it is 370 degree, for J it is up to 760 degree centigrade, for E it is minus 200 to 900 degree centigrade, for K it is minus 200 to 1260 degree centigrade, for R and S it is 0 to 1480 degree centigrade, and for B type of thermocouple it is from 870 degree to 17,000 degree centigrade. But the material used or the metals used as electrodes are different for these different types. So applications, you can see that T type can be used for the temperature, sub-zero temperature measurement and higher temperatures. And if you want to measure it for a below ice point, then you can use J type. It is generally E type is generally commonly used for a primary purpose. Then K is generally used in reducing the atmospheres or in sulfurous atmosphere or a vacuum. R and S type of generally used in oxidizing and inert atmospheres, and B generally utilized in continuously oxidizing or inert atmospheres. So if the atmosphere is changing, that means if the atmosphere, what kind of atmosphere, it is oxidizing, it is inert one, it is a vacuum one. So depending on that and depending on the temperature range, you can select the thermocouple of your choice. So there are thermoelectric laws that we must understand, these thermoelectric laws. So here you can see that these junctions you can show like this one. So this is the terminal one, B type of metal is there and A type of metal is there. So T1 and T2 are the two different junctions. So between T1 and T2, so output V1 will be generated and that V1 will be proportional to the difference between T1 and T2. So that are defined by the electrical laws are there, thermoelectrical laws are there. So what are these laws? Let us try to understand it. So an application engineer, he should understand the three basic laws that are established for the thermocouples. So the electronic interface circuit must always be connected with the two identical conductors. So that is what the electronic circuit is there. But if we are using two identical conductors, then the output generated with the help of such kind of identical conductors is zero, because that will not give you any thermal difference. So these conductors may be formed as one of the thermocouple loop arm, and other you have to use it. But if you are using the two identical conductors, then output generated will be obviously zero. So the arm is broken and is connected in the metering device. So here it is shown that. So you can see that here it is the third metal you have shown. Here it is the B metal you have shown. Here it is the A metal you have shown. So arm is broken and you can connect the voltmeter, or you can connect your electronic circuit over here, or these output can be directly connected to your amplifier circuit and like that. So this is equivalent to this circuit. So you can see that. So even though it is connected with this one C1, so you can directly connect it like this one. So this is the equivalent circuit for this broken circuit. So there are three laws. Let us try to understand the three laws first. First law is the thermoelectric current cannot be established in homogeneous circuit by heat alone. That means if the circuit is homogeneous, that means the two metals are same one, you cannot generate the a thermoelectric current in that one. Okay, so this is the law that provides a homogeneous material is required, non-homogeneous material is required to generate the Seebeck potential. So whatever may be the potential is generated, that is called as the Seebeck potential. That means the junction of the two dissimilar matter must be there, and that only is going to provide you the voltage generation. And if the metal are similar, two metals are similar, then in that case you will not get any output voltage. Then the second law says that the algebraic sum of the electric forces in the circuit composed of any number of combination of dissimilar metal is zero if all the junctions are at uniform temperature. That means whatever may be the number of junctions are there, and if all the junctions are at uniform temperature, the output generated will be obviously zero, because even though the temperature difference is there, then and then only you will be getting the Seebeck effect, then and then only you will be getting the output voltage. But if all the temperatures are at same voltage, same temperature, the obviously, even though the materials are dissimilar, even then the output is zero. So this is what the second law is. So the law says that it also give you the second implication layer. The law also provides the rule of additive materials. So if the thermoelectric voltages V1 and V2 of conductors B and C with respect to reference A are known, then the voltage of the combination of these two conductors is the algebraic sum of their voltages against the reference conductor. Okay, so reference conductor is A. So initially we have seen that. So even though that will generate T3 and T2 will generate one voltage, and T3 and TR will generate second voltage V1 and V2, let us say that. So again that will generate a third voltage. So that voltage is nothing but V1 plus V2. So here it is shown that. Now you can see that the combination is shown over here. So you are taking B, and with respect to A you are generating voltage V1. Now you have taken the combination with respect to another one. So A you have taken, and with respect to C you will be measuring it, and you have generated V2. So A is common, so that circuit will be equivalent to, if you measure with B and C, then that will be equivalent to generate the voltage V3 will be generated, and that V3 will be equal to V1 plus V2. That is also the second law gives you the meaning of that one. Then the third law is that if the junctions at the temperature T1 and T2 produce the Seebeck effect voltage V2, and the temperature T2 and T3 produces V1, then the temperature T1 and T3 will produce the voltage V1 plus V2. That means there are two temperatures, T1 and T2 will produce V2, T2 and T3 will produce V1. So T1 and T3 will produce the addition of these two voltages, so that will be V3 is equal to V1 plus V2. So here it is the example. So you can see that here the temperature T1 is there, here it is the temperature, so material A and B, so whatever may be the voltage difference is there between T1 and T2, that will generate V2. Whatever may be the difference between T2 and T3 will be there, that will generate T3. And if I keep these junctions at T1, so junction 1 at T1 and junction 3 at T3, so whatever may be the voltage difference is there, that is nothing but a combination of these two voltages V2 and V1. So voltage generated V3 is equal to V1 plus V2. That is the law number 3. So additive type of combinations you will be getting through these thermocouples. Okay, is it clear? Then these laws are sometimes called as the intermediate law of intermediate temperatures. Okay, so the law allows us to calibrate the thermocouple at one temperature interval and then to use it at another interval. Okay, so this law allows us to calibrate the thermocouple at one temperature interval, and then you can use it at another interval. That means initially you calibrate it between T1 and T2, and then you calibrate it between T2 and T3. So that will help you to calibrate between T1 and T3. So this is what the meaning of that one. So it also provides an extension of wires of some same combination may be inserted into loop without affecting the accuracy. So you can insert as many junctions as you wish without affecting the accuracy. So the thermocouples can be arranged to measure the average temperature of an object, to measure differential temperature between the two objects, and to use other than thermocouple sensors for the reference junctions. So that you can measure the average voltage, you can measure the two body temperatures also, as well as you can measure it with respect to reference also. So the traditionally the junctions are called as a cold junction and hot junction. So the reference junction is called as a cold junction, and the object with which you want to measure the temperature is called as a hot junction. So an equivalent circuit of thermocouple is shown in this diagram. So you can see that this is an equivalent circuit. So this is the metal. You can this is the example given for J type of thermocouple. So you can see that this is an voltage source that will having a reference voltage TR, and there is another reference source voltage source EH, which is you are measuring with respect to TX. So RP is the resistance of the circuit. So whatever may be the output you will be getting, so that VP is the difference between these two. So okay, so it consists of voltage source and a serial resistor. So voltage source, a hot source will give you the voltage EH, and cold reference will give you a cold junction will give you the voltage source EC. So that will give you the difference between the VP and between these two voltages, and this is called as a output voltage. Okay, now how we are going to connect the thermocouple circuit. So you can see that there are the connections of the thermocouple to an electronic circuit. So this is how you are going to connect the thermocouple to the electronic circuit. So here you can see that this is the object of which you want to measure the temperature. So you will be getting the EH voltage here. So here it is the you will be keeping this with respect to another metal. So here it is the J, and here it is also the J function you will be getting, and you are measuring it with respect to Fe and iron and constant. So you will be getting this voltage, so plus and minus. So this is at cold junction. So you will be getting, and its reference temperature is measured and it is given to this circuit, and with respect to that you will be measuring, and this thermocouple is given to this circuit, and whatever may be the signal or gain is there. So that gain A is there. When with that gain A, this VP voltage, you can see that this VP voltage is amplified. So A into VP will be your output. This is how you can connect the thermocouple circuit to the electronic circuit. So here you can see that that LM35DZ is the semiconductor material which is used for measuring the temperature for the cold reference, and you will be getting the output voltage VP and the two reference voltage VR. So VR and VP are there, and that their reference you will be using it. So the computing the temperature for temperature sensor or thermocouple sensor, the two signals are essentially required, that is VP and VR. VR you need to adjust your voltage at certain level. So there are the several practical ways by which we can process the output signals, and most of the precise method is to measure these signals separately, then compute the reference temperature voltage accordingly, and equate it and compute the gradient between the two thermocouples voltage to calculate the VP as it is given. So delta is nothing but Tx minus Tr. So that is given by Vp divided by alpha p. So alpha p is the your absolute that will give you the coefficient of your thermocouple. That will give you the sensitivity of your thermocouple. So you will get it from your standard charts. So standard charts are available by the manufacturers, and from that you can calculate the sensitivity. So Vp by sensitivity. So simply I can say that Vp is directly proportional to alpha p into delta. So alpha p is constant, that is known to you. So I can say that Vp is directly proportional to delta, and that delta is nothing but your temperature difference. So the concept of adding up voltage from a thermocouple to and a thermistor is obtained by a combination of output signal Vc. So when you add up the voltage, the thermocouple gain should be selected to match the thermal sensitivity or the temperature sensitivity of voltages Vp and Vr to satisfy the equation A alpha P that must be equal to alpha R. So this sensitivity of, because we are using the two different sensors, one is thermocouple and other is the different reference sensor, so their sensitivity must be matched, then and then only will be getting the accurate results. So how we can do that one? So this is the circuit where we can match this sensitivity. So here you can see that you will be getting the output directly from the thermocouple. So you just revise with the previous circuit. Now you can see that this voltage you can adjust it with the help of a thermistor. So you can preset it to a precise value, and you will be getting this output voltage Vr will be added to this one, and Vc will be AVp plus Vr. So this Vr you are getting it from here, that previous circuit you just see it, and that will be directly added to this AVp, and you will be getting this output voltage Vc. Okay. Then how we can manufacture this thermocouple assembly? So there are different techniques of manufacturing the thermocouples. Let us try to understand one by one. So sensing element assembly can be done, or the junctions can be formed in the following ways. It consists a sensing element assembly, it consists a protective tube, then it consists a thermo well. So sensing element is nothing but your metals, or the two different metals. Then it consists a protective tube, so you require a ceramic outer coverage, or that will protect from the environment or from the atmospheric distortions. Then the thermowell is there. So what is that thermowell? It is a critical application which is drilled a solid bar stocks in which you are putting this sensing element. So that thermowell will be there. Then the terminations are required, because you have to take the two terminals out. So you need to screw it up. You need open type of, or plug type of, or jack type of disconnect. So these different types of connectors are required for the termination of your thermocouple. Then there are the assemblies, different types of assemblies are there. So this is a bare thermocouple where you can simply twist and weld the junction. So you are going to weld this junction at this end. So you can see that this is A type of material, let us say this is A type of material, and this is B type of metal or alloy. So this is a second type of thermocouple wire with a plastic tubular carrier. This is the third type of thermocouple which is insulated. So each wire is insulated and only the tips are twisted and welded. This is a butt welded type of thermocouple with a fish spine insulator, and practically all the base metal thermocouple wires are annealed, and annealed means its surface is sent through certain process, heating process, and the surface is made hard. for given a stabilized heat treatment by the manufacturer, so that the surface of that wire will be little bit hard. So that process is called as a annealing process. That means only surface is made hard. So the thin film thermocouples are also manufactured by bonding the junctions of the foil metals having thickness of 5 micrometers. So foil thermocouples are very fast and very sensitive, and that can be used with many standard interfacing electronic apparatuses. Okay. So because of very large length to thickness ratio, the film thermocouples of the order of 1000, heat loss via wires is usually negligible, because heat loss will not take place because these films are very thin films. So here it is the example. I can show you that the junction is get heated, and you can see that there is a deflection. So that deflection is proportional to the heat absorbed by the junction. And here it is the example of one kind of thermocouple. So you can see that the red terminal over here will be positive one, and second one will be the negative one. And this you can put it in any assembly. You can screw it up and you can put it into any assembly circuit, and you can measure the temperature of any body or any vessel. So this is how the thermocouple works. Now next one is the acoustic temperature sensors. Now we know that there are certain temperatures are available where we cannot move, or directly we cannot put such kinds of sensors directly into that environment. So under such conditions, the example is given over here, the cryogenic temperature range, which is very, very high, or where the high radiations are there, such as nuclear reactors are there, or the temperature measurement may be very difficult task to measure. Then in such cases we'll be using such acoustic temperature sensors. That means we are generating the sound, and because of that temperature there will be a change in sound. That sound will be measured. So you can see that under the unusual condition, the acoustic temperature sensors may be very handy one. So the operating principle of this acoustic sensor is the relationship between the temperature of the medium and the speed of the sound. So if the temperature is changing, obviously the speed of the sound will also change, and accordingly you may measure the difference between the speed of that one, and that will be proportional to the temperature change. That means initially you you check that initial one temperature is there, and you pass the ultrasonic sound, and you measure it at the receiving end, and you measure the time difference between the transmitted and receiver time. And when you increase the temperature of the body, then in that case the temperature of the tube will also change, and that is going to change the time which is sent back from the transmitter and receiver. That will change, and that change in time is proportional to the temperature change. This is what the principle used in acoustic temperature sensor. We will see it in with the help of diagram. So in dry air at the normal atmospheric pressure, the relationship between the temperature and the velocity of sound is given by V is nearly equal to 331.5 in under root of T divided by 273.15 meter per second. This is what the velocity of sound in dry atmospheric air. And if the temperature is changing, so acoustic temperature sensor is composed of three components. So it consists of ultrasonic transmitter, ultrasonic receiver, and a gas filled hermetically sealed tube. Okay, so it consists ultrasonic transmitter, ultrasonic receiver, and a gas filled tube. So a transmitter and receiver are the ceramic piezoelectric plates that will generate the acoustic decoupled from the tube, and that will assure the sound propagation primarily through the dry air. So this is what the example is there. So here you can see that the transmitter and receiver will receive the same clock, so that you can see that this is given to the transmitter. Now this transmitter will have will give the signal or the frequency to this piezoelectric material, and that will generate the ultrasonic sound. Now initially with a dry air it is sent to this one, and a receiver will receive the vibrations, and these vibrations are converted into electrical signal and give back to the controller, and the controller will take the decision accordingly what is the transmission time and what is the receiving time, and that will be considered as a reference time. You can consider it as a. So this is one method where you can use it, a transmitter as well as a receiver, a separate transmitter and a separate receiver. So this is the body in which you have kept this one. Now if the body temperature is changing, so if it is changed, obviously the temperature of this tube will change, and that is going to change the difference, that is going to change the velocity of ultrasonic waves, and obviously the transmitted time and difference received time, the time difference will be there, and that will be proportional to the difference between the temperature. This is what the simple concept used in acoustic temperature sensor. So the clock frequency near about 100 Hz triggers the transmitter and disables the receiver, and at the time of receiver it disables the transmitter and it gives the receiver. So piezoelectric crystal flexes transmits the ultrasonic waves along the tube. It receives the receiving and it gets amplified and given to the control circuit. So the control circuit calculates the speed of sound by determining the propagation time between the along the tube. Then corresponding temperature is determined by calibration number of stores in the loop table. So you need to calibrate it for different temperatures, and that lookup table you have to maintain it. So whatever may be the transmission time is calculated, and that calculated time is matched with the lookup table, and that lookup table will give you the temperature of that vessel. So another design is there where you can use a trans receiver. Trans receiver means only one transmitter is there which acts as a receiver also. So the other end is sealed. Instead of using the receiver at other end, the other end is sealed. So ultrasonic waves are reflected back from end, and again it is propagated back to the crystal. So when it transmits, so other end it will work as a receiver only. So electronic circuit converts this received pulse into signal, and which will be corresponding to the temperature of the tube. So the miniature temperature sensors can be fabricated with the acoustic waves, surface acoustic waves, that is called as a SAW, and the plate wave techniques. So we can manufacture the miniature sensors with these techniques. So the idea behind of developing such kind of sensors is in the temperature modulation of some mechanical parameters of timekeeping element in the electronic circuits or oscillators. So this will lead to change of oscillating frequency. So you are using these miniature circuits as an oscillating element. So this will change the frequency, and the change in frequency is directly proportional to the temperature. Now you initially measured the time, and now you are measuring the frequency. So miniature sensors are used to as a part of your oscillating frequency or as a part of oscillator, and that oscillator will depends upon the temperature of the object. So typical sensitivity which will be observed in such kind of acoustic temperature sensors or miniature temperature sensors is from several kilohertz per degree Kelvin. Okay, you are measuring it with respect to Kelvin, so you can convert it into centigrade also. So this is what we have come up with the end of the temperature sensors. Now you can, if you have any problems, so you can put the queries on my channel Tech Fundas, and you can ask me. I am available on anupvibhute@gmail.com. So thank you very much for patience listening. If you have any query, you can put it. So with that, we have came to the end of the sensors. We have gone through the various sensors. Specifically, we talk about the occupancy and motion sensors, the position sensor, position displacement and level sensors, then velocity and acceleration sensor, force, strain and tactile sensor, pressure sensor, humidity and moisture sensor, light sensors and temperature sensors with different principles. That means a single principle will be used in a multiple applications for multiple applications. That means capacitive may be used for level, capacitive may be used for motion, and so on. Similarly, the piezoelectric may be used for temperature, the piezoelectric may be used for pressure or tactile type of. So such kind of principles are used in many applications. So depending on your application, depending on your requirement, you need to analyze the characteristics that are required and you can go with that one. So with that we end this unit. So thank you very much.